What's going on? Welcome to today's mobility session. Let's start by finding a nice comfy spot, lying on your back. Consciously working yourself into a nice relaxed state of mind. Letting go of any stress, any tension. Just focus on being present and taking some attention to your breath. And just notice the pace of your breath, the depth, the sensation of how it's feeling on the way in and on the way out. And we'll slowly start to mold that breath into a rhythm and a depth and a sensation that helps you relax. Focus on directing that air deep into that lower abdomen. Feeling that belly rise as the air comes in, and slowly letting go of it on the way out. And breathing through the nose when you can. Today's routine, we're focused on the hips. We'll take a couple of breaths, targeting that area. On your next exhale, just imagine relaxing through those hip flexors, through the quads, through the hamstrings. Just feeling your hips sink heavy into your mat. We'll take one more breath here. We'll slowly sigh out that breath. And we'll take our attention to the left hip flexor. So we'll go face down on your lacrosse ball, right around the crease of the hip on that left side. And do a little searching in that area, looking for what needs attention. A small change in position here can make a big difference in how this is going to feel. Do a search. Once you've found that area of interest, settle into the right angle. We're going to lean on that, and the right amount of pressure. And to add that pressure, you can just lean in towards that left side. If you've been working your way through the program for a few weeks, we do want to be progressive and just conscious of how your body's responding. If we're going so tight and so intense with this pressure that your body's starting to tense up, just be aware of that and just ease up on that tension and find that right amount of tension and pressure that feels right for today. Doing your best to sync your breathing to that target tissue. As you let go of air, imagine letting go of tension through that hip. Let's take one more breath here. We'll slowly sigh out that breath, and we'll shift to the right side. If you found a good spot on the left, feel free to start in that same area on the right. Just being conscious of any differences on this side. If it doesn't feel tight in the same area, feel free to keep searching. And once you've settled into what's going to be your target today, take your attention back to your breath. Nice relaxing headspace. Mentally go into your happy place. Settling into that nice relaxing rhythm with your breath. Directing that air deep into the diaphragm. And nasal breathing whenever we can. Just being aware of any muscles that might be tense, that don't need to be. There are a few that we need to hold the position, but we don't need anything tense in your face or head or neck, or in around your feet or ankles. So just being aware of any tension your body's carrying, and consciously hitting that off switch to let go of that tension. Let's take one more breath here. As you sigh out that breath, we'll shift into the left glute. So we'll go face up on your lacrosse ball, searching for areas that need attention on this side. And once you've found it, experiment a little with how much tension we're applying and the angle of tension. Small changes in your position and posture can really change how this feels. We like releasing the glute in the position you tend to find restrictive. And that might be external rotation, it might be depth in your squat. You can experiment with pulling your knee in towards your chest, pulling your foot up towards your face to add some external rotation. And just be conscious of that. Sometimes that isn't a position of restriction. And the only way to know it is by listening to your body. And once you've found that right stimulus and right position, settle back to your breath. Maintain that nice, deep, diaphragmatic breath when we can. And doing your best to sync your breathing with your target. Let's take one more breath here. We'll slowly let go of that breath and shift to the right side. So panning through this right glute, looking for what needs attention on this side. Again, it could be the same or similar, or it could be very different. It really depends on your own anatomy, your own activity history, your stress levels. And the only real way to know what needs attention is by searching. So do your diligence and do some experimenting on yourself. Pay attention to how your body's responding. And once you've settled into that right version of this exercise, concentrate on getting passive. Imagine that glute just softening over top of that lacrosse ball. Just submitting to the pressure. And focusing your attention back on your breath. Nice relaxing rhythm with that breath. And staying as passive as we can. Let's take one more breath here. We'll slowly sigh out that breath. We'll transition into the left hamstring. So we find the hamstring easiest to work on a hard surface. If you have a table handy or a hard floor or a Plyo Box, something you can sit and work through that hamstring. That tends to work well. And search through that hamstring. Look for what needs attention. Experiment with how you're applying that tension again. And your tense spots may be very different than they look like in the video. Just always be sensitive to what your body's telling you. It will always give you clues. And once you're there, settle back to your breath. Doing your best to sync those hamstrings to your breath. And as you let go of that air, imagine letting go of all tension, all stress, and just finding that nice passive state. Turning off any muscle we don't need to hold this position. We'll take one more good deep breath here. We'll sigh out that breath and we'll shift to the right side. And again, start by panning through the length of that hamstring. You might be tight around the inside, the outside, the middle, or anywhere in between. Once you found a good spot for today, settle into the right amount of pressure and circle back to your breath. Finding that right amount of stimulus that helps this tissue settle down without getting into pain, without anything else tensing up. Just mentally staying in your happy place. And again, scanning through your body. Anything that's tense right now, just let it go. And let's take one more good quality breath here. And as you sigh out that breath, we'll shift into a left side couch stretch. So ideally this is best done by an upright or a post or a wall. Moving your left leg in behind you and elevating your shin against that post to target that hip flexor and quad of your left side. And if elevating the shin is too intense, feel free to just transition into a dragon pose. We want stretch, we don't want pain. And your version of this may look very different than the video, and that's totally fine. And once you're settled in, concentrate on getting passive, especially the target area, relaxing through that left quad and hip flexor. Remaining nice and passive and relaxed mentally. In a few seconds, we'll gently get active by pressing against that object with your left leg to reverse the stretch. And let's go ahead, starting nice and easy, activating through that quad, pressing your shin into your object, ramping up tension as we go. And let's give a good squeeze for these last 5, 3, 2, 1. We'll gently reverse, activate through the hamstring, actively trying to pull that heel closer to the butt. Ramping up tension as we go. Big tension here for these last 5, 3, 2, 1. Big breath out, relax, get nice and passive, submit to the position, mentally go back to your happy place. And scanning through your whole body, search for what's tense and just let it go. Let's take one more breath here. As we sigh out that breath, we'll switch sides. So let's settle into what feels right for this right side. The hips are known to rotate and be imbalanced. And if that's the case for you, feel free to change how this side looks or feels. Just settle into what feels right for this side. That allows you to get a stretch through that right quad, that right hip flexor, without getting into pain. And then concentrate on getting as passive as you can in the position. We should be within your limits of pain-free range. This is hurting, and we're going too far. Just ease up on that stretch and settle into whatever feels right for today. We'll get active here in a few. And again, when we get active, gently pressing that right leg into your object. And let's go ahead, starting with nice, easy tension. Gradually ramping that tension up as we go, adding a little bit more force each second. And real big force here for these last 5, really squeezing. 3, 2, 1. Let's gently reverse, activate through the hamstring, pull the heel towards the butt, push the hips forward, activating those glutes, ramping up tension as we go. Let's give a good squeeze here for these last 5, 3, 2, 1. Big breath out, relax. Get nice and passive. Submit to the position. Settle into whatever level of stretch feels right for you today. Getting as passive as you possibly can. Only using the muscles we need right now. And we'll sigh out that breath. We'll come back to the mat into a left side pigeon. So step that left leg forward. Gently let that knee drop out to the side. Getting your shin as flush to the floor as you can. And then dropping that chest as low as we can to target that outer left hip. And if you're feeling any discomfort or pain in the knee, just try shuffling your position. Maybe ease up on the depth, change the hip angle, change the knee angle. Do you find a version of this that feels right for today? Stretching is good, pain is bad. So find a version of this stretch that works for you. And in 10 seconds, we'll gently get active by attempting to rotate your left ankle through the floor to resist this stretch. And let's go ahead, starting with nice, easy tension. Slowly ramping up that tension as we go. Let's finish with a big squeeze. 3, 2, 1. Let's gently reverse. Actively trying to pull your ankle towards your chest. Ramping up that tension as we go. Finishing with a big squeeze for these last 5. 3, 2, 1. Big breath out, relax, getting nice and passive. Settle back into your version of pigeon that feels right for today. Focus on your breath. Let's take one more nice relaxing breath here. We'll slowly sigh out that breath. And we'll switch to the right side. Stepping that right leg forward. Targeting that outer right hip. And let's settle into whatever version of this stretch feels right for today. Again, we want to target that outer hip without compromising the knee. We can change how low we're leaning. We can change the angle of our hip. We can change the angle of our knee. And once you've found the version that feels right for that hip and the knee, settle back to your breath. Turn off any muscle we don't need. Mentally go to your happy place. And allow yourself to enjoy the moment. In 10 seconds, we will gently get active through that hip by attempting to rotate that right ankle through the floor. And let's go ahead, starting with nice, easy tension. Slowly ramping up tension as we go. And really squeezing here for these last 5. 3, 2, 1. Let's gently reverse. Trying to actively pull your ankle and chest closer together, ramping up tension as we go. Really squeezing here for these last 5. 3, 2, 1. Let's let go of that breath. Sigh it all out. Get nice and passive back into your basic pigeon. Scanning through your body, through your face, through your head, through your neck, through your feet. Anything we don't need to hold this position, just let it go to sleep. Let's take one more breath here. And as we sigh out that breath, we'll come into a hip counter rotation. So let's get into a reverse tabletop. Knees and hips bent to 90 degrees. We're going to push into one knee, pull into the other, and use the legs to hold that position. We don't want the legs moving. We're just attempting to move them with the arms and holding them still. We're going to switch back and forth every 3 seconds. Starting each rep with a breath into the belly as you exhale, push and resist. And just constantly changing that direction as we work our way through the minute, ramping up the tension slightly. Working within your pain-free limits. And we'll finish with one more rep here. Stick your hands in between your knees and squeeze into your hands. Use that groin, adductor, and pulse on and off. Give it a good squeeze one more time. Let's take a breath, and we'll reverse into a tabletop and work on some left hip circles. We'll start by pulling that knee in towards the chest, slowly adducting the knee out to the side, working along the perimeter of the limits of your range of motion. Finish by kicking that heel up to the sky into some extension, and then starting at the top. And this is at your own time, at your own pace. And with each rep through this minute, attempt to carve out new range. Make yourself work for those limits. And it's helpful to give yourself a second push when you feel like you've reached the end. Give a subtle push just a little further. Sometimes your hips can discover new range and help add range of motion and stability at the end range of those hips. Let's finish this last rep with some good force. We're squeezing into those corners. Breath out, and we'll switch to the right side. So again, starting from tabletop, pulling that knee into your chest with some good force, adducting the knee out to the side, all the way along the end range of your hips, kicking that heel up to the sky into some extension, and then starting from the top. So nice and slow and deliberate. Pay attention to those sticky points and try to give yourself an extra nudge into those sticky points. Generally, the harder we work through this minute, the bigger benefit we get from this whole routine. So as long as there's no pain, feel free to be a little more aggressive as you work your way through. Let's give a good squeeze for this last rep here as you carve out this range. And we'll come back to tabletop. Take a breath. Let's sigh out that breath. And we'll call it a day. Thanks for coming out today. Hope the hips are feeling great. Hope you enjoyed the routine. Hope you're getting some nice results from this program. If you liked the video, remember to like it and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Have a great day.